Welcome to Connected Calendars. This is part one of a three-part series. In this part, we're going to look at iCloud, Macs, and mobile devices. My name is Chris Barsis. I'm the Principal Consultant at Personal Mac Geniuses, and I'll be your host for this video. Before we begin, there are a few things I'd like to point out. What I'm going to demonstrate works best for a small group, like a family or a small office. Since every group or business is different, please contact an Apple support specialist in your area for an evaluation of your needs. I'd like to introduce you to Bob and Bill. Bob is an engineer and Bill is a financial genius. They have decided to start a company together based upon a new widget Bob created. At this point in their business, they are very small. One of them is always at the office, and they are able to do pretty much whatever they need to do just by talking to each other. They each set their own calendars independently of each other, which works fine with one or two people. But as their business grows, they are out of the office more, and as a result, they start to miss calls and appointments. So they hire Pam. Pam stays at the office while Bob and Bill are out. When a client calls to arrange a meeting, Pam checks her calendar to see if Bob or Bill is available. When she books an appointment, she has to tell Bob or Bill about it. So she might call Bob and say to him, "Hey, I booked you an appointment tomorrow." Later, she may have to set an appointment for Bill. Since Bill is in a meeting, she sends him an email telling him to be sure to add the new appointment. Of course, the problem with this is that you have emails getting lost, phone calls getting missed, or sent to voicemail, and then appointments get missed, and so on and so forth. Obviously, this isn't an ideal solution. What they need is something that's going to synchronize their calendars and move information between them quickly. What they need is iCloud. Apple created iCloud specifically to synchronize contacts and calendar information between computers and mobile devices. Let's see how iCloud can help solve their problems. Pam, Bob, and Bill all create iCloud accounts. Pam creates one for the company. Bill and Bob create personal accounts for themselves. Once these accounts are created, both Bob and Bill create a special calendar. Bob's calendar is called Bob's Work, and Bill's is called Bill's Work. Then they invite Pam to subscribe to these calendars. They also allow Pam to modify these calendars. As she makes appointments for each of them, their calendars are automatically synced in near real time. Let's take a look at how to set this up. What we have here is a standard desktop. And this desktop is going to represent Pam's machine. And we're going to take a look here at the calendar app. And now that the calendar app is up, you can look and see how there's very little here. It's pretty empty. What I want you to notice specifically, though, is on my Mac. When it says on my Mac, what it's telling you is that iCloud is not configured and not currently running in these calendars. So what we're going to do is we're going to push we're going to hide the calendar. And we're going to bring up iCloud. And as you can see, iCloud doesn't have any information at all. Now, iCloud works off of Apple IDs, which are exactly the same thing you use for iTunes, iBookstore, the App Store, and all this other good stuff. The point here, though, is that because we are doing this for a company, we don't actually want to use Pam's personal iCloud account. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to create an Apple ID for the company. So the way we do this is we click on that little link down there at the bottom, and this new pane pops up. Obviously, location, you set that. In this case, it's United States. Next thing you're going to have to do is set up a birthday. I'm going to go with April 1st and the year 1990. Now, the year is important. You can't just say 2013 or even 2000 because you have to be at least 18 years or older. So 1990 takes care of that. Also note that this is a completely bogus date. You can put anything you want in there. The only trick about this is that you need to be able to remember what it is that you put in here for security purposes. So April Fool's Day, pretty obvious and easiest. So I hit next, and we're presented with pane 2 of this two-step process. And the first thing to notice here is the Apple ID. says use with existing email or get a free iCloud email. Now, a lot of people will just use an existing email address. If you do that, you will not be able to get mail through the iCloud system. I find that for setting this sort of thing up, it's easier if I just say get a free iCloud email address and be done with it. That way I don't have anything cluttering up my existing email addresses and so on and so forth. But you do not have to do that. It's purely optional. In this case, like I said, we're going to do this for the demo. We're going to get a free one. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in pmgpam@icloud.com. And then we're going to move on to name. Obviously, this is a demo. And that name is, we're just going to put in Pam. There we go. And we're going to use the last name Preston. Doesn't really matter, obviously. This is demo. And we're going to use a password, in this case, junkfood123 and junkfood123. Looks like I've screwed that up. Let's go back here. Junkfood123 and junkfood123. Okay, and then it's going to ask for a security question. I would come up with something customized that somebody in the business would know. That way, if there was ever a problem with somebody accidentally leaving or dying or something like this, somebody else in the company would be easily able to get into this account and make changes if necessary. So we'll just put in something like when was the first employee hired? And then you can put in something like, I don't know, 4/1/1990, Oh, hang on. Go back that up. There we go. 1990. And we're going to turn off the mail and stuff like this. And we're going to go ahead and say next here. Obviously, now we're going to have to accept the terms of service and continue. Once we've gone through that, it will pop up into this panel here where we'll say use Find My Mac, and we have use iCloud for contacts, calendars, etc. Now, this use Find My Mac is kind of interesting. If you have a company, you may want to leave this on. If for some reason your computers were stolen sometime in the future, you could use this ID to possibly find these computers. Right now, however, we're concerned about the whole calendars thing, so we're going to just say next. And since this is a demo, we're just going to say not now for find the My Mac. And after a second here, we get a listing of all the things that iCloud's going to manage for us. Mail, contacts, calendars, notes, Safari, and PhotoStream, and document data. Now, we don't actually care about a lot of these things because we're purely here for a demonstration of calendar synchronization. So we're going to turn a bunch of these off. And of course, this says delete or keep and so on and so on. These sort of things you're going to have to deal with on your own. Oops, we turned off mail. I'm going to leave mail on because I'm using the iCloud.com email for my Apple ID. And as you can see, now that we have this set up, the iCloud or the on this Mac has changed to an iCloud. So these are now being hosted out on iCloud. So we'll close this up and we'll come back to calendar and we'll go take a look at what this looks like on a tablet, in this case an iPad. As you can see, this is my iPad, and it's got all my apps and so on and so forth. I don't actually have a tablet that I can use for demo purposes, so we're going to use mine here. And yes, that's my little guy. So first thing we've got to do is we've got to set ourselves up a new iCloud address so that we can send and receive this calendar information. And the easiest way to do that is just to touch on settings. And as you can see, there's a ton of settings. You're looking for mail, contacts, and calendars, and there's a ton of my stuff in here. Yours is going to look completely different. The important thing here to see is add account right there at the bottom. Touch that and you get a whole range of options. Obviously, since we're using iCloud, we want to click on iCloud. Now, we need to set up a new ID. So we're going to go and touch down there at the bottom where it says get a free ID. And now we're presented with the whole birthday thing again. Once again, this is totally bogus. We'll use the same thing as we've been using, April 1st. There we go. And, whoops, wrong direction. 1990. There we go. And, of course, this is completely bogus, but you might need it for recovery purposes later. We tap Next, and it asks for first name and last name. Of course, in this demo, we're setting this up as if this was Bob, so we're going to make this Bob Preston. And this way, we can show how the calendar syncing works. We'll tap Next. And it asks if you want to use current or the free iCloud email. We're going to go with free iCloud email again. Another good reason why this is that it makes sure that you don't have duplicate iCloud addresses. So that way you know the iCloud one is, for example, the office maybe. And of course, PMG Bob, following the same thing we did with Pam. And do we want to create this? Of course, we want to create this, so we're going to touch the Create button, and it's going to ask for a password. We'll use the same password as we've been using all along here, and that's junk food 1 2 3, and I have to verify it again. 1 2 3. Okay. And we'll tap the next button. Now we get a whole ton of security questions. Obviously, you're going to have to fill these out in order to get past them. But just because you fill them out doesn't mean it has to be all that big of a deal. So just make it simple here, because remember, you're setting this up purely for the ability to synchronize calendars at your work. So what was the name of your first pet? We'll call it Doggy. And what was your first car? We'll say car. And what was the first album you purchased? We'll say White. It really doesn't matter. Just get yourself in a position, for example, if you are running the company, where you have a set of standard questions for this situation. And then that way somebody in IT knows what these answers would be so that they can fix it in case there's something wrong. We tap Next, and it asks us if we want to have basically a recovery email. This is a neat idea, and you may want to have this set up so that it recovers back to whoever is your IT guy. If you don't have an IT guy, or you're demoing like us, you can just go ahead and hit Next. It's also going to ask if you want Apple to send you email updates, and the answer to that is no. Thank you. We'll pass. So we tap Next, and then we get the terms and conditions. And, of course, we have to agree or we don't get to use the app here, or actually the iCloud. So there's the agree. And it's going to create the account. Think about this for a moment. Tick, 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 bang. Okay, and it comes up with this panel here where it talks about what it is that we want to be able to synchronize. We're obviously going to turn off reminders, turn on calendars. And now it's asking, do we want to merge the information? The answer is yeah, that's fine. And we're going to leave email on as well. And we'll touch save, and off it will go. All right, so now you can see right there, number 2, PMG Bob at iCloud.com. That's our new iCloud synchronizing calendar. So we're going to go back to the home screen. What we need to do now is we need to set up a new calendar. So we go into the calendar apps. And as you can see, we're still empty. But the important new thing is when we tap calendar, we see that we now have a PMG Bob at iCloud.com. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of different calendars here that are probably not going to be on yours. This is because, of course, we're working with my iPad. The important thing here is to tap edit. And once we have the ability to tap edit, we now have an add calendar at the bottom of our iCloud account. So we're going to tap add calendar. And in this calendar, we're going to give it a label. We're going to call it something obvious like Bob's Work. That way everybody knows what this calendar is all about. And we'll assign it the color yellow. And it doesn't matter what you call it, but make it something so that it's, easy. Obviously, if you just say schedule, who knows whose schedule that is when it comes time for other people to actually do any work. We're going to tap the done up at the top. And now you see that we have Bob's Work calendar. We tap on that. We now have an option right there at the top that says share with. And we're going to add a person. And this is how Pam is going to be able to access and make changes in Bob's calendar on her machine. So we're going to say that we're going to share this with PMG Pam at iCloud.com. We're going to add that. And now you see she's there with privileges of view and edit, which is exactly what we want because we want her to not only see the information, we want her to be able to actually edit the information. And when we tap done, it comes back to our editing calendars. We're then going to go ahead and tap done again. And there we go. Oops. Extra clicks. And now Pam has been invited to edit and view. And we'll see that here. This is Pam's desktop again. And in a moment, there we go. iCloud has sent her an invitation to join Bob's calendar. Now, obviously, this is exactly what we're trying to get done here. So we want to have access to Bob's calendar. So we're going to roll down and we're going to hit the join calendar button. And then this is going to fire up Safari and bring us to iCloud on the web. iCloud on the web is just one more way to access all the iCloud goodies without actually having to have your Mac or your iPad. In this case, it's asking for our username, which we can put in PMGPam at iCloud. Well, wait. Actually, if you just put in PMGPam, the at iCloud will automatically jump in for us. So we'll do that. And then, of course, the password that we've been using all along, junkfood123. We tell it to go ahead. Since it's the first time in here, it asks us for a couple pieces of information, and we say done. And there on calendar, we click, and it starts to think about this. And boom, we are now joined. And see how Bob's Work calendar now pops up in our iCloud calendar. And it shows that it's being shared. We click on OK. And there we get up a information on Bob's iPad that we've joined. And now we're going to take a look at the actual calendar ad. In the calendar app, you can see has also got us connected, and we see Bob's Work calendar right there, just like you expect to see. Now, here's the way it's cool. Once you've got it set up like this, you can go ahead and do fun things like this. For example, let's say somebody calls me up, Vic, and he wants an appointment with Bob on Tuesday. And let's see here. We'll punch it in, appointment with Vic. And we're going to edit that real quick. And we're going to take a look at the information here. Vic has called us up. Oh, VIC. There we go. And we're going to start putting in information. Like, for example, he says that he wants to go from 10 to 12. And then it's the Pacific time and so on and so forth. Now, here's the important part. It's not the home calendar. It's not the work calendar. Remember, this is for Bob. Okay, so you have to specify this is Bob's Work calendar, and that is how you can let Bob know. Now, on top of this, we can do some really nice things, like, for example, let Bob know that he needs to get a hold of Vic 30 minutes in advance or drive there. We can put notes or whatever. When we say done, You can see how it says updating up there. And that updating means that the data is being pushed up into iCloud. And when we take a look back on Bob, boop, the information pops right up. And we get a little note that pops up. We're going to say close on that. And we're also getting alerted that Pam is connected. We say that's okay. And now you can see that the appointment Vic is now sitting right on our iPad, and we did nothing. The beauty part of this is that this is a two-way street. For example, let's say that we look at this and go, ooh, nope, we can't do this. We need to reschedule this for tomorrow. So we go in, we change the date, we hit done, and it switches over on our side. And as you can see, it's pushing the data up to iCloud. And if we look at Pam's machine, we see that the information is currently where it was when Pam did it, but now that it does the update, bang, it's been moved over into the location that Bob specified. This, of course, is done in near real time and with no interaction between either of the participants. So the beauty part of this really is that these calendars will synchronize back and forth between multiple machines with little or no contact, and there's no issue with like sending out invitations and then having the emails bounce or whatever, and nobody gets the information. It all happens in real time right here on each of these machines. And of course, it can also work on iPhones, iPads, the Mac, and if you happen to have PC people or you're stuck somewhere without your Mac, you can go to iCloud.com and see the information, make changes, and that will be reflected in anyone's shared calendar as well. So that is Connected Calendars Part 1. I'm really thankful that you were here and that you took the time to watch this with me. I'd like to say a quick plug for Connected Calendars Part 2. That is going to be adding in a Android device into this whole thing, or how to do it with Google Calendars, which is a little more accepted on the Android side and also on the PC side. So once again, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in Part 2.